So my last book is definitely mine weren't necessarily in order, but this is definitely my number one. So, and I know that's a really big statement, but this book changed everything for me. And I think there's probably not a single one of my clients that hasn't heard about this book, because this book, yes, challenged me and will challenge a lot of people. It is The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer, for those that are playing along, listening, and not watching.
Everyone's at the edge of their seat here. They're going,
I really was.
They're guessing.
What book sounds that way? It's just me being completely absent-minded sometimes. So The Untethered Soul is really bringing into Michael Singer speaks about us all having an inner roommate inside of our heads, and it is the constant chatter that goes on, and he really has this way which will challenge a lot of people, because it challenged me the first time, and I've had a lot of people come back and go, can't listen to it. I'm like, well, can't read it. I'm like, read it again. Just take your time, work through it, read it again, because the reason you'll be challenged by it is because your ego is trying to block what's coming through. And this work is so powerful. When you can control the inner voice that's in your head and really understand that it is not who you are, and that's really challenging, because as soon as you start to work through that, I don't know whether you've read this book, right, Lauren?
Oh, yeah, I've read it a few times. Yeah.
So when you start to work through this book and realize that the thoughts in your head and the constant chatter, and you start to be able to start controlling it and kind of calling it on its own BS and going, not me. Yep. Not paying attention to that now. It starts to get really challenging, because you start to go, well, hold on. If I'm not, and I think I found this in The Power of Now, in A New Earth, in a lot of these books, but this book probably really challenges it the most. You start to go, well, hold on, if I'm not the voice in my head and I'm not the thoughts that are going on, then who am I? And this is a real step in a whole new direction. And it really, really woke me up. One of the big things, I had debilitating anxiety and depression, PTSD. So I constantly had nonsense running through my head, fear-based nonsense running through my head. And now, most of the time, it's quiet, which is saying a lot, because it's like, for someone who used to constantly talk to themselves, or at least like that's what I thought I was doing in the head, or constantly have just chatter going on. Yeah. It's really interesting. Like I'll analyze things and I'll look at things and I'll be like, there's my phone. There's my this, or there's my that. But when I'm conscious of it, I can literally make it go quiet now, and there to just be nothing. And so that was a really big step for me. And as soon as I was starting to able to control that, I was able to really control my anxiety, really start controlling and figuring out who I was, start seeing the world with real compassion, start, helping people and letting go of judgment. So I wanted to read. Did I read yet? See, his book.
No, you haven't read yet.
Me off on a tangent. See, it would help to have an inner roommate telling me what to do right now. But so I'm going to read just a little bit from chapter 2. And there's no page number on this. Okay. So I think, it's 15, page 15. And it's called Your Inner Roommate. Your inner growth is completely dependent on the realization that the only way to find peace and contentment is to stop thinking about yourself. You're ready to grow when you finally realize that the I, who is always talking inside, will never be content. It always has a problem with something. Honestly, when was the last time you had nothing bothering you? Before you had your current problem, there was a different problem. And if you're wise, you will realize that after that one's gone, there will be another one. The bottom line is you'll never be free of problems until you're free of the part within that has so many problems. So
Oh,
I know.
everyone's like, preach. Fuck.
I know. And it, like, I could read this whole book. We could just do that. Because this book is just, yes, it's challenging. And I have to say, I believe there is something in here that I don't 1,000% agree with. So I do always say to people, if something is challenging you in a way that is like challenging your morals, then that's okay. You're allowed to skip past that little part and whatever, but don't put down this book based on that one thing. I'm pretty sure it's at the end. I cannot even remember. It might be in a different book, but I have a feeling it was in this book. But if it's just making you feel and your brain is just constantly rejecting it, that is your ego saying, "Ha, don't let go," right?
Yeah.
I'm losing.
Don't continue. Don't continue. Yeah.
Yeah. Put it down. Go eat some cake and watch Netflix.
Yeah.
Right?
Do you know what? I actually recommend to people who, because I don't know about you, but when it took me 3 attempts to get into The Power of Now with Eckhart Tolle. I couldn't do it. And I don't know how I still had that book over the years, but apparently I just kept taking it with me. And I find people who don't resonate with his work right away, because I really think you have to be kind of ready for it, because I recommend The Untethered Soul, because I find The Untethered Soul is a little bit more not commercial, but simpler to understand, because Eckhart talks a lot about Jesus and, I think almost wordier concepts kind of. And I feel like The Untethered Soul, and I love that excerpt you read. It's made me go, okay, gotta take that book down off the shelf at the end of this chat and have a look at it again. He really explains things in such a logical way that you can really connect to and you're not confused.
And this is definitely a book that I recommend you read. I don't want to say annually. Like initially, you'll probably read it annually, but it's kind of that if you start to feel like you're losing grip, like you've read it a few times and you're just kind of losing grip, or things are not manifesting right, or you're just finding relationships are a bit, or things aren't going great at work or whatever, this will be the problem. The ego will have stepped back up and the inner roommate will be going, she's not supporting me anymore, So really, the concepts in this book, and if you can grasp it, it's really amazing to be able to step forward and to realize that the thoughts are not you. And he explains why they're not you, and he explains how you can rationalize that in your brain by the wording that's used inside your brain, why it's not actually you. There is a way that he explains it that makes you go, oh, okay, yep, I can get this.
I can see that's not me there. Oh, cool. Okay, well, I'm going to reread it again.
Reread it, because